I'm Gary Liu. I'm the CEO of the South China Morning Post, which is the English paper of record of Hong Kong. It's been around for 114 years. I'm relatively new to the position, and part of my job and remit is to steward this brand through the next couple of years of transformation. I think the news industry right now is more critical and more important to the world than ever before. The industry, a lot of people believe, is declining, but what is really declining is just our traditional distribution channel, right? That of the printed paper and the way that news is delivered through print. The channels that are actually available to us because of the internet are far greater in reach and magnitude and influence than we've ever had access to. The need for news is greater than ever. I think that especially now with the US election and Brexit and what's going on in Europe with the European elections, is that there is very clearly an appetite and a consumer desire to understand the truth of what's going on and to have context and insight and analysis effectively given to them or taught to them by folks that are in the authority and positions to be able to understand the world. So our discussion just a couple of hours ago here at Stream was about how news is distributed across the internet and where accountability for fake news lies, whether it lies with the platforms or whether it lies with the advertising mechanism or the monetization mechanism or whether it lies with the news publications that actually create the news. And the reality is that accountability needs to be shared. Right? It cannot be just on Facebook, Google, or Twitter. It cannot be just on the advertising mechanism, and it certainly cannot be just on the newspaper. The conversation was great. I don't think these conversations happen nearly enough, especially when we have representatives from all three constituents sitting in the room. Right? It would be even more comprehensive if we had a bunch of random readers and news consumers in the room as a fourth constituent with us as well. But these conversations, what they help, how they help, is that they let each of us actually think more critically about our role, about our accountability. It stops being just finger pointing, but it becomes a way for us to actually go towards the same goal together. Because I do believe that all of us believe in the same final destination, the same goal, which is to increase media literacy, to be able to value what news and content represents, and to be able to bring more truth into the world as opposed to less. So I really didn't know what to expect coming here, but the fact that I legitimately am in a t-shirt, just this, I've been able to grow out a little bit of my facial hair. This is as good as it gets, by the way. This is very different from all the other conferences. And this relaxed environment with people of influence and impact, together with an intent of discussion, right? Because none of these are presentations. In fact, people will, the groups themselves will keep each other accountable to make sure that these conversations are not one-sided or are not one-directional. That environment has led to a lot of new discovery. For me, I have learned in the first day of discussion a bunch of new things that I never thought about before, even in my own industry, in the discussion that we were talking about. I walked in there for sure, thinking for sure that I knew exactly what I believed. The accountability was on the platforms and on monetization. News was doing as much as we could. I walked out of there thinking, as a news organization, as a media company, there is much more that we need to own. We should care more and invest more in media literacy. So that kind of change in behavior, that kind of change in thought, I think, is what makes Stream so incredibly different and unique. I think the box that we live in is that there are singular sources of truth, and I do believe that there need to be stewards of truth. But the box that we generally live in is that there's singular sources of truth, and learning is very often one-directional. The best education organizations, institutions around the world believe that education is not one-directional. Right? It's the people that you're surrounded by. It's the conversations that you have that really build you up as a human being, build your understanding of the world. I think Stream, getting out of the box, creates the environment, actually forces the issue that conversation is central and discourse is central to knowledge share and knowledge gain.